I suggest you use the money you got from pumping your Patreon to hire a good lawyer. You're gonna need it.
Oh boy, this might be the dumbest thing Logan Paul's done since his Force incident for his public perception.
And I promise to be better.
Well, this story starts in 2021. We were definitely in a cryptomania phase, and Logan Paul, he decided to try to capitalize off of this by launching a crypto project called CryptoZoo. And fun fact, this isn't his first time being associated with a crypto project, as before, there was a coin called Dink Doink.
What up, Dink Doink Telegram? Now I know what you're thinking. Logan, what the f you doing here? I'm doing the same thing as you. Holding my doink. That's what I'm doing. This is a point I believe in.
But I guess we just don't talk about that project anymore. So anyway, the new project, CryptoZoo, was Pokemon meets NFTs. So a bunch of people are like, oh wow, Logan Paul, he's promoting a crypto project. This is probably going to be big as he has a massive platform. He has massive reach. And what did they get? Whatever this is. Something that looks like Adobe stock footage edited by AI. How is this possible? CryptoZoo, ladies and gentlemen. And not too long after, it seemed like Logan distanced himself publicly from the project. Now, with hindsight, since we found out there was a whole plethora of problems with the project, so it kind of makes sense why he stepped away. But we didn't know of any of this until the creator Coffeezilla made a multi-part documentary on Logan Paul's CryptoZoo shenanigans, titled Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam. The second video was titled The Biggest Fraud in Logan Paul's Scam, and the third video was Ending Logan Paul's Biggest Scam. TLDR of the series, CryptoZoo was a massive show of a project with no accountability from Logan Paul, even though he was a founder of the project and promoted it directly to his fans. Definitely a disaster for Logan Paul, but he did this kind of to himself. And there has been plenty of time to correct his mistakes before Coffee made his videos. There was over a year between the project and Coffee's video. But instead of correcting his mistakes, he went on the offense against Coffeezilla, and that video has since been deleted. But here are some key moments from my commentary video on it when all this happened back in January of 2023.
I watched a 3-part series called Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam, and like many on this platform, you have successfully used my name for views and money.
And that's coming from a guy who used a dead body for views. If you make a project and your audience loses millions of dollars combined from it, people are going to talk about it. That's how the internet works.
Coffee, you interviewed the developer who stole the game code, fled to Switzerland, and held it hostage for $1 million. Well, his name is Zach Kelling. Surely, as the internet detective that you proclaim to be, you would know that he spent time in prison for multiple felonies, one for aggravated robbery, armed robbery at a liquor store, and the other for, surprise, obstructing the legal process. I can see why you kept him anonymous.
But you decided to work with him and promote this project to your audience. It doesn't matter who he is, he's just interviewing the person who worked with you. Also, why didn't Logan Paul talk about this publicly? Him doing that would definitely put a lot of pressure on those guys.
Wouldn't someone with journalistic integrity know their credible source had not only an agenda, but a fondness for orange jumpsuits?
Wouldn't someone who cares about their reputation not build an entire company with someone like this then?
And I know what you're thinking. What type of idiot would work with an unsavory individual like Zach Kelling? I guess that's what I get for trusting the team that I relied on to vet and manage Eddie's hiring process, who has turned out to be a professional con man that I have since learned fooled billionaires, the Mormon Church, the owner of the New York Yankees, and now me.
Okay, so an apology would be fitting here. You just had to say something like this.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
But he didn't. Instead, he doubled down.
Even after 12 months of work, you've still managed to overlook one crucial piece of information. See, even though I've said it's coming so many times, you've assumed that CryptoZoo isn't being made. Who are you to decide when the development timeline ends?
Huh. I wonder where CryptoZoo is now. Oh. They also haven't tweeted since all this went down, and Logan also announced that the game will never be completed due to regulatory hurdles. But going back to the timeline events, Logan first announced that he was suing Coffee in 2023.
Got everything stolen from me and our community, stopped promoting publicly as soon as I knew the extent of the internal issues, took all of the heat on social, and you still published a defamatory hit piece fully knowing I was innocent just so you could enrich yourself in your $10 million studio. Sharp, but deeply unethical, dangerously misleading, and illegal. I suggest you use the money you got from pumping your Patreon to hire a good lawyer. You're gonna need it.
And understandably so, Logan got a lot of flack for that. So much so that he completely 180'd and made this apology video and announced he would actually refund the CryptoZoo holders.
Coffeezilla is not a criminal. I called him, I apologized. My initial response to his series was that of fire, an ego, flair, whatever it is, pride. I'm a fighter at heart, and I was defensive because I know I never scammed anyone with this project. I never made any money, never sold any tokens, and I only had the best intentions going in. But the fact is, the suing Coffeezilla is not going to help CryptoZoo holders, so I do need to focus my attention where it should be, which is on fans and supporters of me. You guys mean the world to me, so I'd like to announce my 3-step plan moving forward.
So he came out with this like 3-step plan to fix all of this, where step 1 was Jeff and him were going to burn all their Zoo tokens. That doesn't really do much because the token at this point was already worthless. So them taking their worthless coins out of the supply didn't do anything really. But the step 2 was rewards programs for disappointed base sag and base animal holders, and to burn their base sag and base animal or the mint price. Here, my understanding is Logan put up about 1,000 Ethereum to essentially pay for that program. And then step 3 was to finish the game as outlined in the white paper. And that was all kumbaya until he didn't even follow through on that promise. And the game, as I stated earlier, was just never published. The website isn't even up. But he did follow through with that buyback program for the NFT minters, but to my knowledge, there was nothing for the Zoo token holders. And that's if you agreed to not sue him. So I guess about half a year later, Coffee posted the video titled, "Logan Paul's scam isn't over." Here in this video, he essentially was asking for an update on the plan to fix all this, as the CryptoZoo holders were not really given what he promised. And he ended that video with this note.
This isn't worth your time. Getting publicly flogged like this every 6 months? What are we going to be doing this in a year? No. Okay? It's not worth your time. It's barely worth my time. Just please pay the people back what you owe. Give them a real timeline, a real plan, and then we can all go back to pretending you've changed.
And nothing happened publicly from Logan Paul's front. So half a year later, Coffee made another follow-up video titled Logan Paul's Refund. Here is Coffee's quick recap of that video.
You're all caught up. To recap, part 1, refunds. They're being used as a bargaining chip to drop a lawsuit. And so he never has to produce this game, which has been promised for 3 years. And he's sold tens of millions of dollars for. Part 2 is the Zoo tokens. He's pretending they're not for a game that they definitely were for to avoid refunding people, when in fact he admits they were created to support the game. Part 3 is the lawsuit, where he stole my investigation, tried to pass it off as his own, but just cuts out the part where he did everything wrong and leaves out the entire year where he was solely in charge of the project. No bad actors. He could have fixed everything, but he didn't, because he's cheap and doesn't want to pay anybody.
So he continues to add pressure to Logan consistently, and it seems like Logan is tired of this. Apparently, he just doesn't want to take the accountability. But this is how Coffee ended that video.
And Logan Paul is not a hero for doing this or making things right. He's a serial scammer who's offering a minority refund as a last-ditch effort to save his wallet and his reputation.
And speaking of a last-ditch effort, Logan Paul just sued Coffeezilla this past week, which is a little bit confusing because he said he wasn't going to do it, but now he did. So maybe he was just trying to front-run the next Coffeezilla video, knowing that it's been about 6 months since Coffee's last video. You know, because he was dropping videos every 6 months and, you know, one's due in about a month. Or maybe he just wanted to guarantee another video from Coffee because now he is officially suing him. So I'm going to read, I guess, like the nature of the action, and then we'll skip to the bottom and see what Logan Paul wants out of this. So plaintiff Logan Paul, a globally recognized entertainer, athlete, and entrepreneur, brings this defamation action against defendant Steven Fendison, aka Coffeezilla, a self-described investigative journalist and internet detective with no actual journalism training or a private investigator's license, to hold him accountable for maliciously and repeatedly publishing false statements accusing Paul of operating a scam in connection with a troubled blockchain project called CryptoZoo. So just like an open-ended question here, didn't Logan admit that he was scammed in this project? So by that, wouldn't he be promoting a scam? I don't know. Starting when he released a 3-part YouTube video series on CryptoZoo in December of 2022 and continuing into the present, Fendison has perpetuated the false narrative that Paul scammed and defrauded his own fans in connection with the project. Fendison has perpetuated this false narrative despite knowing it to be completely and utterly false, in order to enhance his own profile and increase his viewership and income in the process. And indeed, he has done so, despite of being in possession of and purposefully omitting from his series and related statements overwhelmingly objective evidence that Paul had in reality been enthusiastic about the project and deeply committed to its success, only to be deceived by several of his project's trusted advisors who turned out to be con men. So if Logan Paul was conned and he promoted the project that he was conned in, would he have not conned his fans since he actively promoted it? I don't know. Open-ended question. In early 2021, Paul conceived of CryptoZoo from an animal fusion concept he had seen go viral in other contexts. CryptoZoo was to be a game utilizing blockchain technology in which players would be able to purchase egg non-fungible tokens that would then hatch into animal NFTs. Player would then be able to breed those animals and create unique and even rarer hybrid animals, which could earn players an in-game cryptocurrency called Zoo tokens based on their rarity. All of this activity would be carried out in a virtual ecosystem where animals could continue to be bred, traded, or used for mini arcade games or sold to earn more Zoo tokens. To develop the project and navigate the intricacies of the blockchain technology, of which Paul was unfamiliar, Paul assembled a team of experts, or as it turned out, individuals who falsely represented themselves as experts and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of his own money on graphics and animation and other project-related expenses. Although CryptoZoo was announced publicly and certain aspects of the project were rolled out in fall of 2021, Paul's vision for the game never became a reality. There were multiple reasons for the project's failure, but the most fundamental was that the team member responsible for overseeing the development of the game, Eddie Ibanez, turned out to be a charlatan who had lied to Paul and many others about his background and credentials. Ibanez. Is it Ibanez or Ibanez? I'm going to switch it to Ibanez now. Ibanez continuously assured Paul that the game's development was proceeding at pace and that completion was imminent, when in reality, he had incompetently overseen the process and failed to pay his team of developers despite his assurance that he would do so. Paul's efforts were also stymied by frustration by a blockchain and crypto advisor named Jake Greenbaum, aka Crypto King, who turned out to be more interested in trying to personally profit than in helping to create a legitimate project. Both Ibanez and Greenbaum took advantage of the hype created by Paul's affiliation with the project in order to surreptitiously sell Zoo tokens for millions of dollars at the expense of those acquiring the tokens in the anticipation of actually being able to play the game. Okay, so devs were literally dumping as Logan Paul's fans were buying in. So Logan Paul's fans in this case were used as exit liquidity, allegedly, according to Logan Paul. Regrettably, despite rightfully exposing the wrongdoing of Ibanez and Greenbaum in his YouTube series, defendant Findus understood that accusing a celebrity like Paul of perpetuating a scam would generate exponentially more clicks, views, and ultimately revenue, and would increase his own profile. Findus therefore titled his series Investigating Logan Paul's Biggest Scam. But Logan Paul promoted this project. He was the face of this project. And he proceeded to confidently tell viewers that not only that the project was a scam, but that it was a scam conceived of and perpetuated by Paul. The three-part series was viewed tens of millions of times. Each of the videos remain among Findus's most popular of all time, and viewers and the public at large were captivated by the narrative of an unserious social media influencer who had supposedly used his fame to dupe his fans into investing money into a fake crypto project, while always intending to abscond with the money. But Findus knew full well that Paul had never been set out to scam anyone, but to the contrary, had always intended to build a legitimate blockchain-based game for participants to enjoy with a like-minded community. In addition to knowing that Paul did not profit from the project in any way, Findus possessed scores of contemporaneous internal text messages between Paul and his co-founders showing, for example, that Paul was adamant that the project be executed to perfection before being announced publicly, that Paul was focused on the detail of the gameplay experience, including over financial gain, that Paul was explicitly relying upon Greenbaum and Ibanez for all aspects of the game's development and implementation, including the timing and logistics of creating and trading the Zoo token liquidity pool, and that Paul was beside himself with frustration about the betrayals that prevented his vision from being realized. Yet, because they did not fit his preferred self-serving narrative, Findus purposefully concealed all of those communications from his viewers, save for select messages that he manipulated and intentionally presented devoid of context. Although Paul considered taking legal action against Findus at the time of his YouTube series was released at the end of 2022, he decided to instead focus his efforts on trying to make things right for those who had shared his enthusiasm for CryptoZoo, only to be left disappointed when it failed to materialize. In January of 2023, Paul announced that he would be working on a buyback program for disappointed CryptoZoo NFT holders, even though Paul had not personally received the proceeds from the sale of these NFTs or otherwise earned any money from the project whatsoever. The buyback was completed in March 2024 and resulted in Paul successfully coming out of pocket to distribute over $1 million worth of Ethereum to eligible NFT holders. Okay, so he covered the NFT holders, but not the people who bought the Zoo token. Despite his anger over Findus's actions actions and massive harm that Finison's false accusation caused his reputation, Paul was initially willing to let bygones be bygones after all. Finison had claimed all along that CryptoZoo investigation was motivated by a desire to call attention to regular people who had purchased CryptoZoo NFTs only to see their investment become worthless. Paul naively believed that his commitment to the buyback program would help him find common ground with Finison in that regard. But Paul misjudged Finison's motives. Even after Paul announced the buyback, Finison simply could not help himself from dipping back into the well that had proven so effective in earning him viewers, attention, and revenue, both from his YouTube earnings as well as an associate Patreon account that had to be used to solicit donations from subscribers. I mean, Coffee was covering the disaster that was CryptoZoo. Just because you did a buyback program for the people who bought the eggs doesn't mean he's going to stop covering it, because you still haven't done anything for the people who bought the token for your project that you promoted, that your co-founder also allegedly tanked by using your fans as exit liquidity. In the summer of 2023 and continuing into 2024, Finison began publishing additional YouTube videos, which he also teased and hyped on X, formerly Twitter, in which he repeatedly claimed to the public the false allegation that CryptoZoo was a scam and a fraud conceived and perpetuated by Paul. I mean, CryptoZoo seems like a scam to me, and it was definitely promoted by Logan Paul, so I guess we'll just leave that one open to public opinion. And in those following videos he just mentioned there, Coffee kept pushing Logan for a response or like an update privately, because Logan in his original response was like, why didn't you just message me? Okay, now he's been messaging you, apparently. But instead, Logan apparently referred him to his lawyer. So he kept making these videos. Here we go. Okay, so throughout the ups and downs of his career, including the CryptoZoo disappointment, Paul has learned to believe in the importance of accountability and taking responsibility for one's actions. Paul brings this defamation suit to hold Finison accountable for his actions and to hold him liable for the immense harm that he has caused Paul's reputation through the intentional and reckless dissemination of defamatory falsehoods. Next, we have factual allegations here on the bottom of page 6. And here, it seems like Logan just paid his lawyer to just properly glaze him. Paul's path to becoming a globally recognized entertainer, athlete, and entrepreneur can be traced to his days as a student at Ohio University. And then he just kind of goes through his whole career and how great of a career and how great of a entrepreneur he's been, except for the small hiccup in Japan called the Tokyo Adventures, according to this lawsuit. One of the videos were set to feature Paul and his friends camping overnight in the Aokigahara forest, which has given his reputation to be a common sight for and was rumored to be haunted. Paul's aim was to produce a spooky yet lighthearted episode of the group, exploring setting up camp and surviving the night amongst the forest's supposed ghosts. And then, you know what happens. The whole internet blows up, so he kind of just goes through that. The harsh blowback took a toll on Paul's own mental health. He's thankful that it happened, though, because it helped him become a better person. Is Dink Doink mentioned here? I don't know what his direct association with Dink Doink is, but he definitely promoted it. Wow, okay, so he really just goes through Coffee's full career here. And then let's start here. Around the same time as Save the Kids series in July 2021, Finison published a video titled Logan Paul's New Crypto Coin is an Embarrassment, which focused on a meme token called Dink Doink. In that video, Finison falsely accused Paul of participating in what he characterized as a Ponzi scheme, alleging Paul promoted the token and concealed his involvement in its creation for the purpose of enriching himself and an eventual sell-off. There was no truth whatsoever to Finison's allegation of bad intent. Paul's trading activity involved in the token, which was not discussed at all in the video, was limited. And although Paul was allocated Dink Doink tokens by its founder, he never sold these tokens. They sit in his digital wallet to this day. Okay, kudos to Logan Paul. But still, that token free-falled and he promoted it. So kudos for him not using his fans as exit liquidity, but he indirectly assisted other people to use his fans as exit liquidity. Finison seeks to drum up viewership for his channel by promoting and publishing a series of videos about what he claimed was Logan Paul's biggest scam. So here he talks about the first video. Right off the bat, Finison promises his audience that he would be revealing the inside story of how Logan Paul scammed victims out of millions of dollars. He claimed that his high-effort investigation was a year in the making and teased, some of you guys think you know the story, but it goes so much deeper. And of course, at the center of it, we have Logan Paul, who has abandoned this thing, leaving thousands of victims in his wake. The video then introduced CryptoZoo as Paul's brainchild and explained how the game was intended to work in concept, with participants using Zoo tokens or other cryptocurrencies to purchase egg NFTs, which they could then hatch and breed to create ever rarer hybrid animals, earning additional Zoo tokens that could then be used to purchase additional eggs or other in-game features. Finnison acknowledged that there was nothing particularly unusual, novel, or nefarious about this structure, and there are a lot of NFT games built on this model, which is called play to earn. That's true. Nevertheless, consistent with the name of the series, Finnison insinuated to his viewers that the real problem with CryptoZoo was that Paul had illicit intentions from the outset. Finnison claimed that those who bought CryptoZoo NFTs had been duped by Paul's portrayal of himself as the reformed influencer rather than a reckless clout goblin just in it for the money. He continued, they thought this time is different. Logan Paul couldn't possibly scam us, right? Then the legal documents just continue to go on, essentially what Coffeezilla said in his 3-part series, where Jake the Crypto King bought $200,000 worth of tokens and just ended up dumping it on the viewers coming in and buying these tokens. And that Jake the Crypto King called Ivan as a rug puller, and Ivan has apparently also sold his tokens. So it's a whole mess. And then it's also already been said that Logan nor his manager Jeff ever sold any of the Zoo tokens they acquired on Zoo Day. Then Logan Paul goes on to say that Coffee left out a whole bunch of messages that apparently prove that he's more innocent. But Coffee clearly stated in his 3-part series that it was Jake and Ibanez who really caused the whole project to go crashing down because, you know, Jake bought $200,000 worth of Zoo token to just dump on the fans, and Ibanez didn't pay the developers. That's a recipe for disaster. By skipping down a little bit, they say that Logan Paul's NFT buyback was an enormous success. Undeterred by Finnison's new defamatory campaign, Paul pressed forward with a complex plan to conduct a buyback of CryptoZoo egg NFTs from their holders. Between January 4th and February 8th, the buyback program received claims covering about the third of the total CryptoZoo NFTs that were repurchased at the set buyback price of 0.1 ETH each. Paul personally committed a total of 295.6 ETH to the effort. The funds were officially dispersed on March 25th, 2024. Given ETH exchange rate that day, Paul was ultimately able to disperse over $1 million of his own money to buy back egg NFTs from the NFT holders who submitted a claim. And then they reiterate that Paul did not earn a single cent from CryptoZoo. In fact, he lost well over $1 million in the project. Yes, while Logan didn't make any money on this project, he still acted extremely irresponsible with his brand by leading his audience straight to the slaughterhouse. But not only did he do that, he also created the slaughterhouse. Apparently not on purpose, but still, that doesn't really change the outcome, which is why I'm a little bit confused in why this lawsuit is happening in the first place. Paul brings this action to hold Finnison accountable for intentionally spreading falsehoods. Paul's early experience with the disastrous Japan episode taught him importance of humility and importance of accountability. That extends first to himself. While Paul only ever had good intentions with CryptoZoo, he worked hard to overcome the many challenges the project faced, not least of which were true bad actors who sabotaged the project for their own personal gain. Paul does not shy away from acknowledging that CryptoZoo was his brainchild, and that many individuals purchased NFTs in hope that they could participate in the community and the game that Paul had conceived. When the project failed, the egg NFT holders were left with a relatively valueless assets that could not be used for CryptoZoo gameplay. Paul did the right thing, at great financial loss to himself, to try to make a whole as many eligible holders as possible through the buyback program, as was his goal before Finnison's 3-part CryptoZoo series was released. You never publicly spoke about this until Coffee made his 3-part series. So the public isn't really convinced that he was going to do anything about it until this series was released. But accountability must also extend to others involved in the CryptoZoo saga, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. That's why Paul has filed legal claims against Ibanez and Greenbaum for their deceptive and unethical conduct. With the buyback complete and the claims against Ibanez and Greenbaum being litigated, Paul now turns his attention to Finnison, who also needs to be held accountable for his actions. As set forth above, Paul was initially willing to turn the other cheek on Finnison's false and defamatory accusations that Paul scammed people with CryptoZoo. Despite the initial video series receiving millions of views and causing immense harm to Paul, Paul wanted to believe that Finnison was sincere in his professed desire to bring attention to members of the public who lost money trying to be a part of CryptoZoo. But Finnison's actions, even after Paul announced the buyback program, have conclusively demonstrated that Finnison claimed sympathies are a ruse. Like Ibanez and Greenbaum, Finnison is simply using CryptoZoo to personally profit via deception. He is doing so by knowingly, intentionally making false claims about Paul, not in the service of any greater good, but simply in the service of making money and increasing his own profile. These actions have caused and continue to cause enormous harm to Paul and his reputation. The social media posts and YouTube videos that Finnison have posted since June of 2023, in which he continues to falsely accuse Paul of perpetuating a scam, have collectively been viewed by more than 15 million people. At this point, Paul has unfortunately concluded that Finnison will not stop this course course of conduct unless he too is held accountable. I feel like Logan Paul's reputation was already really bad before the 3-part series. Before the 3-part series, everyone still was looking at what happened to Dink Doink and what happened to CryptoZoo. If anything, Coffee actually helped hold the other people involved in CryptoZoo accountable, because we haven't heard of anyone else involved in this project until Coffee dropped his 3-part series. All right, so Logan's claims for relief. The first one is liable per se for the statements of June 29, 2023 X post. Paul repeats, realleges, and incorporates the above paragraphs as though fully set forth herein. On June 29, 2023, Finnison published a post on Coffeezilla account on the social media, formerly Twitter. The post stated, Logan Paul is really the type of dude to thank you when you expose a scam, then block you when you remind him to pay up. The post was published to a worldwide audience on X's platform. As of May of 2024, it has been viewed 6.5 million times. The post remains still available with this URL. A copy of the post, as it appears on x.com, is attached to Exhibit A. The June 29, 2023 X post was intended to convey and was understood by readers of ordinary intelligence as conveying the factual accusations that Paul created CryptoZoo to engage in a financial scam, i.e. fraudulent financial conduct. The June 29, 2023 X post is falsely defamatory. The accusation that Paul operated a financial scam is one that tends to harm his reputation so as to lower him in the estimation of the community or to deter third persons from associating or dealing with him. The June 29th post is libelous per se, that it tends to affect Paul in his profession or occupation and accuses Paul of engaging in illegal conduct. By publication of the June 29, 2023 X post, Finnison caused harm to Paul's reputation. Finnison published, same date, with a reckless disregard for the truth, that he was aware of the time of publication that the statement was false, or at a minimum had a high degree of awareness that the statement was probably false. As a direct and proximate result of publication of the false and defamatory June post, Paul had suffered damages including injury to reputation, embarrassment, humiliation, emotional distress, and economic damages in the amount to be determined at trial. Okay, so second claim for relief is apparently for the video that we saw, Logan Paul's scam isn't over. And the third claim for relief would be liable per se of statements of the January 5th, 2024 YouTube video, Logan Paul's refund. With the prayer of relief saying, plaintiff Logan Paul respectfully requests the court to award him a relief against defendant as follows: actual and compensatory damages in excess of $75,000, as well as interest, reasonable attorney's fees, and costs as allowed by law, punitive damages as allowed by law, and such as other further relief as the court deems appropriate. Logan Paul demands a trial by jury for all claims and issues that are so trialable. Overall, I feel like this is going to cause a massive Streisand effect, because I feel like most people kind of forgot about the CryptoZoo situation. I feel like this is going to bring a lot more attention to CryptoZoo than what the original 3-part series created. But it's also important to note that the lawsuit isn't about the original 3 videos that Coffee made, even though so much of the lawsuit actually talked about those 3 videos, because as we read in the claims of relief, he's only suing for the most recent tweets and the 2 follow-up YouTube videos. This might be because the original videos could be past the statute of limitations in Texas, as he's being sued in Texas. And that also gives Coffee a massive advantage, as Texas has one of the strongest anti-slap laws. So the case could actually be thrown out right away. And sadly, the only reason I know about anti-slap laws and what states have really good anti-slap laws is because, I was also sued for defamation. So hopefully Coffee gets through this as unscathed as I did. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because it seems like Logan Paul has quite the uphill battle here, because it's not like CryptoZoo holders are super happy about their investments. And didn't Logan Paul himself say he was scammed in this project, meaning he promoted a project he got scammed in? Overall, though, it's a terrible situation. I hate it when YouTubers sue YouTubers, because it doesn't really help anyone here. I don't think this is gonna help Logan Paul's reputation. Because let's be real here, when it comes to lawsuits, in most cases, the big winners are the lawyers themselves. So on that note, hopefully Coffee gets himself a solid legal team, and I'm very interested in seeing how he responds in his next video on this. Also, I feel like Coffee did a massive service to the CryptoZoo holders, because we didn't know any of this context until his 3-part series. I feel like his 3-part series was a great way to hold the people involved accountable. And while it does seem that Logan Paul was scammed here, I don't think the right move is to sue the person who's the little guy holding you accountable. In my head, that's just a terrible look. And you saw how that played out with my situation. So I can only imagine how this is going to play out, because this is probably going to be 10 times the size. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.